my name is Aizul. I am a final year accounting student in IUMW, and today I would like to share with you guys about my financial management and my financial struggles for bridging the gap between the youth and financial struggles event with IUMW Finance Club. The first question is, what do you think about your financial situation or standing at the moment? Honestly, I would say it's more or less stable because I still do not exceed the amount, well, at least in most cases, I do not exceed the amount of my expenses basically does not exceed the amount of allowance that I have monthly. So yeah, I would say it's pretty good, but I can see like the hardship of it. Like it's very it's very tight. Yeah, that's all I can say. So the second question, are you currently facing any financial hardship? Well, honestly, I would say no, because whenever I do, I still have a backup account. Okay, for every year I have a savings account, well, which I collected every month. So it accumulated into one financial year. So whenever I have any financial hardship, I would just like take a few amounts, a limited amount from the savings or reserve account that I have. But in the event that it involves a huge sum, I would most of the time ask for financial assistance from my parents. Daddy's favorite son. Okay, so the third question is your family facing any financial hardship? And how does it affect you? Okay, so ever since the pandemic started last year, my dad has been struggling with one of his business in which that every month it keeps on breaking even. So he had to make a very tough decision recently to just sell off the business because it does not make financial sense to keep it any longer. So he just sold everything according to market value. And yeah, so when he sold that business, it affected my allowances. So previously, I received 800 ringgit monthly from my parents. Now, since the pandemic started, I receive only 300. And yeah, my family's or my parents' financial hardship does have an effect on me. The next question is, do you have any form of income? Before the pandemic started, I received a steady income of 800 ringgit in allowance monthly. And I segregated the amounts for certain expenditure, like for fuel, food, entertainment, and miscellaneous spendings. But ever since the pandemic started, it got reduced to 300 because my dad also is struggling with his business. He lost a lot of income from it. So yeah. So the next question is, do you usually have money left at the end of the month? Short answer, most of the time, yes. I would, okay, so before the pandemic started, I would usually have like around 100 ringgit, 120 ringgit at the end of the month of extra money, in which I would immediately put it inside my savings accounts where I do not touch it at all. I do not bring forward any extra amount to the next month because I would rather save the money. And yeah, it's all because I have budgets for certain things that I want to spend on every month. So the next question is, how far ahead do you like to plan financially? Well, for monthly expenditure, I don't really plan. But when it comes to like big things like overseas trips or maybe domestic trips, I would plan like 2 months ahead. For example, when I went to Jakarta, I planned everything 2 months prior the trip. I planned my accommodation, I planned my flights, my itinerary, basically all the places that I wanted to go. So I did extensive research on the places I want to go, like how much is the entrance fee, if they have any, and how much would the travel fee, and how much would it cost me to get there with Grab or Gojek. And for that trip, I managed to keep my travel budget within 1,000 ringgit. and I stayed there for 10 days. I spent about 250 ringgit on the flight tickets, 100 ringgit on insurance, 500 ringgit on accommodation, and then the rest I use it for food and souvenirs. Spending in Jakarta is very cheap for a Malaysian. Okay, so the next question is, how financially literate are you? I would not say that I am a professional in financial literacy, but I would rather say that I have broad knowledge in financial management, because I don't want to spend my money willy-nilly. I would like to segregate the budget in detail, like how much I want to spend on this and how much I want to spend on certain things, and yada yada yada, because let's just say that my goal is not to go bankrupt. But yeah, I do sometimes watch on YouTube on videos on financial management in order to enhance my knowledge on financial literacy as well as financial management, to see whether like if I can save more. And before this, the amount that I save for every month, I do not spend it, but recently I started to invest the money that I save from previous years in order to grow that money so that I have a steady income, and or maybe an additional income rather than relying on my parents' allowances. Okay, so the next question is, do you think financial literacy is an important life skill to be honed as a youth? It is, because you have a long life ahead, and growing up is not cheap. You will have a lot of commitments, you have a lot of responsibilities. You have to save up for your transportation, your car, you have to save up for your house, you have to save up for your Hajj if you're a Muslim, you have to save up for your kid if you want, or kids if you want family, you have to save up for a pension fund when you retire. And yeah, so basically there's a lot of things that you need to consider in your future, just so that you are financially stable in the long run. And being a youth, it's important to like enhance your knowledge in financial literacy as much as possible, because when you're young, you still have a lot of energy to make money and to find ways to make more money or make the money grow and invest your money in certain things that gives you a high return. So yeah, short answer, is very important for the youth to enhance their financial literacy. Okay, so just to give a little bit of explanation on how I manage my financial management for every month, I will share with you guys how. Okay, so here you can see this is my financial year 2019 expenditures, and I separated every month, and it's a very uniform look, because I keep on receiving the same amount of allowances every month, and I keep on spending on the same things every month. So as you can see here, my monthly allowance is 800 ringgit per month, and I segregate my budget according to my needs, which is fuel, food, entertainment, and miscellaneous. Okay, bear in mind 2019 is pre-pandemic, so everything's different back then. So I would budget 150 ringgit for fuel, 300 ringgit for food, 150 for entertainment, and then 80 ringgit for any miscellaneous expense such as skincare or anything. So that would give me a 680 ringgit in total for my budget every month. So that would allow me an additional 120 ringgit to spend on, but I do not, and I wish to save that amount. But as you can see here, not everything goes to plan, right? So sometimes I spend over budget, like as you can see here for January 2019, I spent a little bit too much on food. So I went over budget by 48 ringgit, but on other things, I keep my expenditures under budget. And my total expenses for January totaled to 686 ringgit. So meaning that I have a balance of 114 ringgit for the month. So this amount, I will transfer it to my savings account, which gives me interest monthly so that my money can grow. And this is for February. So it's basically the same thing. It's just that my expenditure changes a bit, and apparently in February I spent a little bit too much and I only have a balance of 70 ringgit to be transferred to my savings account. So the process repeats for March, April, May, and then at the end of the year, as you can see here, my total savings would be 900 ringgit. But then since I went to Jakarta as a self-reward for that year, I have a net savings of only 52 ringgit because I took 850 ringgit from my savings for my trip in Jakarta. And I have an additional 150 ringgit sponsored to me by my parents. Alright, so this is for 2019. If we look at 2021, current year, as you can see, my monthly allowance has dropped from 800 to only 300 ringgit. So this means that I have to lower my budget on every needs that I have. So for fuel, I reduced from 150 to only 50 ringgit, my food from 200 to 150, entertainment from 150 to only 30 ringgit, and miscellaneous from 80 ringgit to only 40 ringgit. Okay, so my total budget spending would be 270 out of 300 ringgit, which means that I would be only able to save 30 ringgit per month. And my total expenses for January this year would be 275 because I went over budget on fuel and entertainment and miscellaneous. So I saved 25 ringgit in January. That's a lot, from 100 plus in 2019 to only 25 in 2021. The same thing can be said with February. And so for February, I spent a little bit too much, and as you can see here, I was not able to save money. Instead, I had to fork out money, and a lot of it has to do with the miscellaneous expenditure here. As you can see, I spent 200 ringgit because I used that 200 ringgit to start investing in cryptocurrency. And since I invested in cryptocurrency and actively trade, I had managed to add an additional, as you can see here in March, I was able to have an additional income of 160 ringgit, which totals my monthly allowance plus my income to 460 ringgit. 300 ringgit plus 160 ringgit. But nonetheless, I still went over budget because I also reinvested a certain amount into my cryptocurrency. So out of 460, I spent a total of 415 ringgit, which gives me a total balance of 45 ringgit to my savings. Alright, and for April, as you can see, I also had an additional income of 122 ringgit from my cryptocurrency trading. And as you can see, my total income in May, in addition with my allowances, only totaled to 398 ringgit. This is because I stopped trading cryptocurrency because the market crashed. So by the end of the month of May, I only managed to have a balance of 81 ringgit to my savings. And then starting June, I stopped trading cryptocurrency because the market was really unstable. So I just let my money be and continued my previous trend. Yeah, as you can see here, in June I managed to save 57 ringgit, and for July I saved 140 ringgit because I did not spend much on fuel because you can't really go out, right? Same case in June. Okay, for August, the amount is still not totaled yet, but as you can see here, I've already spent 14 ringgit on entertainment, 22 ringgit on miscellaneous, which is actually my skincare, and 28 ringgit on food. But so far, for my total savings for my financial year 2021, I managed to save, up until now, in July, a total of 360 ringgit. That's not a lot comparing to what I saved in 2019. But yeah, it's all because of COVID. I'm expecting to save a total of maybe 800 ringgit, but I doubt that I would be able to save up to that amount. But we'll see. Alright, so that's all from me. I hope you guys can share your financial struggles too during the pandemic, and trust me, everyone has their struggles and it's a hard time for everyone. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you. Bye.